In other words, to build in backdoor surveillance for law enforcement. The goal, of course, is increased homeland security. Homeland security is a seductive phrase, but as Orwell said, trading freedom for security is a death trap. The quest for total security is both unavailing and unending. The Bush administration first proposed a surveillance scheme, which would have taken in everything ever in a computer bank about anyone. But the outcry was so great that even the then Republican-controlled Congress denied funding. The government instead is relying on an updated version of the current airlines reservations system. Even information on housing is included. So if you rent an apartment, you might have a problem. So too if you've moved much, since rooted in the community is a criterion. As is, and forget about the accuracy of this one now, information whether you're easy to get along with. This has led to many problems. When I bought 3 one-way tickets for travel one week to save the groups paying for my speeches some money, my boarding pass was marked SSSS for secondary security screening selection. And 4 agents in Tulsa told me to stand with my arms out, fingers spread, then turn my hands over. My wallet was emptied. All my cards were inspected. My luggage examined, as another agent questioned me, and 2 more blocked entrance and exit to the area while keeping their hands on guns in their holster. I don't know, I was never told that they were looking for anthrax. Still. Even my reading matter was gone through, including an earlier version of this very speech. I was subjected to everything short of a strip search. But breast exams at the airport? That is what some women were exposed to in this country after 2 women were involved in a terrorist plane bombing in Russia in 2004. A security agent, male for female, were not available then, which was pretty frequently, did the checking. And it took 3 months before our government decided that the examinations could take place in private if the passenger wishes. New body scanners show generic outlines instead of nude images as we go through security. A computer highlights areas where anomalies on the body, such as a lump, are found. These machines are now in use at about 250 of the 2,200 checkpoints nationally. Many of the rest will continue to use scanners that essentially take a naked picture of passengers, front and back, alas, with the faces blurred. As one wag has said, they can serve as an annual physical and save you money. If you leave anything in your pocket, even tissues, screeners can now frisk you until, according to the guidelines, they hit resistance. "Don't touch my junk," said the fellow being patted down in the YouTube spot. And there was a new airport underwear line called scannershirts.com with silver-colored patriotic emblems appropriately placed to block parts of the body when going through security. The government said it had no problems with this. But the government now is also starting a new program, asking passengers questions about their travel plans and employment. Given the job situation these days, that could be few questions for a lot of people. But still, based on the responses, some travelers will be subjected to further invasive searches. All this pales in comparison with a program underway to put DNA results into a massive database that, when completed, hopefully next year, will hold over 3 million separate cases immediately available to law enforcement. This would include anyone who is associated with an individual or group designated terrorist, even if that person did not engage in unlawful activities him or herself, or perhaps simply happened to be pictured in an area. The information vacuum takes in all. But no one is quite sure what associated means. Whether, for example, it applies to a student who sat next to a future terrorist in class. I am reminded of my mother's experience. In college in Ohio, shortly before World War II, she went to parties sponsored by the Communist Party. When she tried to get a job with the government during the war, she was listed as someone who should be watched and went through 2 levels of review. She is 94 now, and I assure you, she has never had much interest in politics, to my dismay. Those were the best parties on campus, and she went to meet guys. But for some people, that might be more difficult now. Since the government is labeled as terrorists, totally unrelated domestic protest organizations, such as Greenpeace and People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA. The FBI has monitored selected members of 180 groups overall on the grounds that these people might commit crimes or that they appear to be of Middle Eastern descent or just advocated pacifism. Taken together, these proposals change the whole concept of what it is to be an American. They have produced a digital McCarthyism with untold dangers lurking at every turn. Who knows who will be denied a job, a promotion, a loan, because of some information in an online file, gotten there who knows how, and to which the person has no access and no control. The information gleaned might keep us safe, but from whom? Could it be our government? Terrorism by its nature aims not only to destroy, but also to intimidate. That is why defending, upholding, and exercising our constitutional freedoms during crisis, even prolonged crisis without end as we're seemingly going through now, is the ultimate act of patriotism. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and bypassing the judiciary, as the Bush and Obama administrations have attempted without fail, dangerously undermines our entire constitutional structure of checks and balances. Both administrations are like the prefect of police in Casablanca, rounding up the usual suspects, but without the usual legal safeguards. One of the hidden and most dangerous casualties of 9/11 is the shrinking access to information we once took for granted. Hundreds of millions of documents have been classified or simply removed from public access, both on shelves and online. More than 30 leading scientific journals, at government request, have limited the research they publish and eliminated sections of articles giving details of research. Less material might be available for you to read in class, which might make some people happy. But also less information is available for your professors in their work. The government now requires administrators at the nation's 190,000 labs to disclose whether they have material that could be used to make biological weapons. Anyone originally from a country considered a sponsor of terrorism cannot have access. By this logic, Albert Einstein would not have been allowed in this country, and his ideas would have been embargoed during World War II. A category of controlled, unclassified information was developed after 9/11. Under it, the government would own the information. But even after all this time, the definition has not yet been agreed on. Background checks and security clearances are now mandated for scientists working with any one of 82 select agents, such as pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and toxins. The government has contended that terrorists might use them to develop biological weapons. Little surprise then that 2,000 scientists withdrew applications for FBI checks. And I should note, students doing research for professors receiving federal money in any field, or working in the library, since it receives federal money, or even if you receive a federally guaranteed loan or grant, a Pell Grant say, you will undergo a background check, and you will never know. Few groups have been more affected by 9/11 than foreign students. There are now about 700,000 at 6,000 schools across the country, and they must now first be interviewed by American officials in their home countries.